Now, Shane very much disagrees that I like to wear black shirts. I have 15 pairs of black shirts and 10 pairs of black pants. And I also have 10 of the same black tank tops. So though I look like I wear the same thing every day, I do, but I do change my shirt and pants. And Shane is against it.
What's the point of doing the same thing over and over and over again? It's like an unparalleled paradox that just keeps replaying the same thing over and over again. Like I could be talking to Vin a year ago because he's wearing the same outfit. I don't even know. You can't make a shirt decision because you have decision fatigue, and that's pretty much the first decision you have to do is wake up. That's such an excuse. Don't give me that.
All right, everybody, welcome to episode 6 of the 1% podcast. I am your host, Vin, and
I'm Shane.
And today we are going to talk about how the 1% have fun and how they dress.
It's going to be a good one.
Oh, yeah. Now, the last part was added due to a conversation we're having prior to recording. We were supposed to record about 30 minutes ago, but we got into a very heated debate of which I'm right. And it was all about dress code of the most successful people in the world. I've come into the level of awareness to understand that the top 1%ers, such as Dr. Dre, right? We have a lot of other people. We have Mark Zuckerberg. We have Steve Jobs. All these fascinating people that have achieved amazing things. Barack Obama, too. All these people attest to wearing the same things day in and day out, 15 pairs of the same shirts or the same pants, all for the reason that successful people know how valuable their decisions are. The average person makes 35,000 decisions per day. And anytime you have the opportunity to shave some time off and save some energy in your decision-making skills, you enhance your power to go through the day. Now, Shane very much disagrees that I like to wear black shirts. I have 15 pairs of black shirts and 10 pairs of black pants. And I also have 10 of the same black tank tops. So though I look like I wear the same thing every day, I do, but I do change my shirt and pants. And Shane is against it.
So I personally think that wearing the same clothes is a style. Sure, you choose to wear that. I think it could be labeled as laziness, that you just want to wear the same thing. I think especially in today's generation in society where there's 7 billion on the planet, the fact that 4 or 5 very successful people like to wear the same thing, that's great. I mean, but there's nothing wrong with a little diversity in here, right? Let's get some red, let's get some yellow, let's get some blues in our life. Especially when you live in a society for 1%, for the successful people, where you're constantly doing either the same thing or you're constantly evolving. It's nice to wear something different, at least in my opinion. What's the point of doing the same thing over and over and over again? It's like an unparalleled paradox that just keeps replaying the same thing over and over again. Like I could be talking to Vin a year ago because he's wearing the same outfit. I don't even know. Now, outside of the time travel crap, who doesn't like a little color in their life? And you got the purple in the background, you got the beautiful, plants right there. We got all these beautiful colors here. Why wear the same thing over and over again?
Because, and first up, we are talking about the 1% that do these successful things, and you bring it to the 99% by mentioning the other 7.99 billion people out there. We don't care about that on this podcast, but what we do care about is why successful people are successful. And there is a lot of research that shows it is not just a form of, I want to be lazy and I like my same shirt. There's so much to it. You'll waste less time. You're going to wind up saving your brain power. One thing I think that's really great is you're going to feel great every time you wear the same outfit because you like it. So I would say it's more of a mental boost, if anything, because it helps you. There's a such thing as decision fatigue, which every decision you make starts to decrease your brain power per day. And though it might sound silly, you still have to decide, what am I going to wear? What shirt goes with what pants? How should I style this? Get rid of those silly decisions. Become more efficient. Become more powerful. So that's the way I look at it. It's not just the fact that I like what I wear, which is true. That's why I have so many outfits of the same thing. But I also like to reduce my decision fatigue. I like to have less time wasted. There's no stress of trying to figure out what am I going to wear or the energy of trying to put it together. And it's so much easier. And to some degree, it's almost iconic. Now, I'm a very regimented and structured person. Been through the fire academy, had to wear the same thing every single day. I like doing the same things every day. It basically streamlines my life processes. And so there's a lot of successful people that do this strategy, not just because of the fact that they don't want to decide what to wear, that's a piece of it, but they want to step into what they could really utilize their brain power and decision making skills on. That's why it's so important to wear something that you like that's easy to figure out every day.
So I agree that, in life, you got to make a series of decisions. But we're talking about a shirt and pants and shorts and something that should take less than 20 seconds. Now, if you're my wife, those 20 seconds turns into 20 minutes. I understand that 100%. But we're just talking as simple as color changes. We're talking about a simple t-shirt here that could have 4 or 5 different types of colors, but I feel like decision fatigue, that's a lazy excuse in my opinion.
The part
No?
of it, no, it's a part of it. You can only make the research shows you can only make a certain amount of decisions
Outside of the
per
research,
day.
I don't care about the one article that you found online
It's not one article.
about these 4 people that do the same thing over
You're
and
talking
over.
about the 1%. How are you going to bash the 1% on the 1% podcast?
Which, by the way, Obama's on that list. I find that
Yeah.
very hard to believe.
I'll
Obviously,
share the screen right now.
I'm
You see
sure
Obama.
the one article you found online from whatever
Ink.com.
Ink.com,
Mhm.
because that's a very popular, website and
All right.
blog article.
What about these other ones? I have Medium. I have
I care about
CNBC.
your response. Why? Is the reason why you wear the same one, is it because of these people? Is it because you have decision fatigue? Is it because you like it? Because if it was because, hey, I just like wearing black and I don't want to wear other colors, then great. That's totally fine. But don't give me all these other reasons, decision fatigue and I can't make this
It's
decision.
all true.
You make decisions every single day of your life. Do I want to eat this? Do I want to eat that? Do I want to drink this? Do I want to work out? Do I want to play video games? Do I want to do this and this? You can't make a shirt decision because you have decision fatigue. And that's pretty much the first decision you have to do is wake up. That's such an excuse. Don't give me that.
No, that's one part of it. There's many other reasons. And I mean, it's not even about an article I found online. These are the legitimate things that people say when they're interviewed. It's a streamlined process.
I'm asking about you.
Oh, me?
Why do you do it?
Well, for all of those reasons I listed to you, I don't like to waste any of my decision power. I like the things I wear, and if I like the outfit, I'm going to wear it more. How many times anyone who's listening, how many times have you worn your favorite outfit and then you're like, I wish I could wear that outfit again, but now I got to wait. I got to do clothes and later in the week, and then maybe I could wear it again. You know what? Screw that. I can wear my favorite outfit every single day because I just wear the same damn thing every day.
Okay.
So I feel good every day. Confidence boosting.
Agreed. I 100% agree with what you're saying right there. And if you feel confident in what you're wearing, then I absolutely agree with you, and it's your life. However, and this is the big however, we are evolving. Everybody evolves. Your mindset evolves. You go through different changes. You go through different styles, just like the entire economy goes through different styles. And we're talking about the 1% here. We're talking about, you and me specifically. But every 5 to 10 years, the complete style changes, just as our minds change. So that favorite outfit, specifically mine, I love this outfit 2 years ago, last year, 6 months ago, 3 months ago. And guess what? Now, with me looking at other things and seeing other options, like, this looks really good on me. And I definitely know the vast majority would agree with me because they like the diversity, because their mindset changes and evolves in seeing these different things. And now that becomes their new favorite. And now they have 10 new favorites.
I don't know if that's entirely true. I mean, I am someone who can stick with the same thing for years. I've had the same hairstylist since I was like 20. I've had the same. I Before I moved, I went to the same gym for over 10 years. I do the same thing every day. I eat the
Okay.
same breakfast every day. I think it depends on the person, but for me specifically, I like streamlined processes. So I'll eat the same thing and never get bored of it. I will wear the same thing and never get bored of it. And if I do, then I just switch it up. Like I actually did do a wardrobe change because about a year ago I felt like the wardrobe I had didn't really connect with the person I was evolving into because life is about evolution. I got rid of 98% of everything I wear if it didn't fit what I wanted to wear. And then I just bought brand new everything. But funny enough, brand new everything was just the same of everything. So I felt like that's who I am. And so I stepped
It's
into that more.
it's crazy that you specifically, because there's not a lot of people out there that can eat the same breakfast, do the same thing, see the same, not necessarily friends, but the same barber, the same gym, because that's not. I wouldn't say it's not necessarily evolving or growing because you like what you like, and that's just really what it comes down to.
Well,
But
I'm definitely a creature of habit.
a creature of habit is a good way of doing that, and
Yeah.
routine. And it's I think routines and goals and things like that are obviously uh, you have to have them in life, especially if you're a one percenter, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner. But that brings me to my question here: how can somebody like you, who has such good habits and routines, which a lot of people strive for, especially when they're doing meal prepping and cutting, trying to cut weight or trying to meditate and trying to stick to regular routines, how can somebody like you jump into an entrepreneurship role where that's why I'm saying diversity and adversity have such a huge play in this, and you have to think on your feet and you have to change your mindset, and things are constantly changing.
Because I am a unicorn. I'm very unique. No.
So that's the
Well,
front of the hat. There's a little,
there's a
unicorn
horn. All
horn.
my hats are ripped. They all have holes in them. No, because here's the thing, right? It's very interesting. So when you start understanding humans and their behavior, you understand that every human has an absolute base level need for certainty. There is no human on this planet. I don't care how much variety and uncertainty and chaos they can handle. There is a level of certainty that everyone needs to function. Now, it may not go super high, but it's going to start at your basics: food, shelter, water, some clothes, right? Those are the basics every human needs. That is also a level of certainty. As we also go through life, we need to create certainty for ourselves. Now, the way that we create certainty is different. So I love chaos. I love adversity. I love things that are challenging. I love the unpredictability of life. But I could also love and appreciate those things because I create massive certainty for myself. And so, in my ability to stay extremely regimented, it keeps me grounded in the uncertainty. So, when I talk to clients or people about how you can navigate any adversity in life, a lot of it comes down to self mastery. But what self mastery is it's just creating a sense of certainty no matter what's going on around you. And so when you have your habits and your routines and the things you do day in and day out, your rituals, you create unbreakable certainty, which allows you to navigate all adversity.
Hmm. Well, I mean, I would just, in regards to your theory, I think you're pretty spot on when it's. I'm sorry, I'm trying to agree with you, and at the same time, it's like in my head, I just still think you're just bonkers crazy for a little bit, but that's just because I'm different. I honestly, I just don't know how you do it. And especially with knowing you for, not as long, for what, 8 months now here, you are like this colorful soul. And what I mean by that is I'm surprised by you every time we talk. For something new, I always learn something. It's always something. So, we always have these great, deep, meaningful conversations. You've already always helped my business out and provided new types of feedback. It's just hard to visualize somebody like you doing the same type of routines day in and day out in regards to your clothing, your eating habits. It's just crazy to me to think about because I'm so different. and I haven't met anybody who is strict like you. You know who is like you in regards to eating habits? Bodybuilders, and I understand that. But as far as as far as the clothing, I just don't understand it. I guess I can't put myself into your shoes. I understand that you like it and you want and it's your favorite outfit, but I just think you're bonkers, right?
It's
There's just
iconic.
a little cuckoo-ness going up there.
It's okay. I probably am. I mean, I've been diagnosed with all these mental health issues. One of my people called me. They were like, "Hey, you're probably bipolar." I was like, "Maybe." I don't know. Who knows?
So, in your mindset, looking at somebody like just me, for example, who wears different things every time, well, do you think that I'm crazy? Do you think that I'm unnormal? I'm just curious on your mindset.
No. There's one of the quotes that have helped me a lot in my life, because I used to be extremely judgmental of others, and obviously that came from more of a hurt place in my life, like, right, like growing up with my story and constantly being bullied. You don't really know how to set expectations for yourself without imposing them on other people. So I used to be very judgmental. Like, I would look at someone and I'd be like, how do you get like that, or how do you do this, or how do you do that? And at a certain point, I read this great quote by Marcus Aurelius. So a lot of people may or may not know about me is that I like to consider myself somewhat of a practicing stoic. And so when I read this quote, it made a lot more sense to me. And he said, "Be strict with yourself and tolerant of others."
Mm.
And I really liked that because I remember I was having a heated argument with my girlfriend one time. She's like, "Why are you so judgmental of other people?" And I came to realize I really wasn't judgmental of other people. I have very high expectations for myself, and I'm okay with that. I don't really expect other people to live like me. And so I learned to get to this place where I don't care what you do or how you live your life. It really doesn't matter. If it affects me, that's different. Then I have a few things to say or do. However, whatever you're going to do, I don't personally care because it doesn't impact my life. Like, you can do whatever you want. You can sleep until 12 in the afternoon. You could fuck up your business, your life, destroy your everything. It doesn't impact me. Now, if you want my help, that's different. If you want support from me, I'm going to have a thing or two to tell you about how you can improve your life. But if you're just some random person, I don't care. If you're a friend of mine, I care a little bit because I have pretty high standards that I want to hold my friends to, because you become like the people you spend time with, and I want to have things in common with the people I spend time with so that we could all challenge each other to grow and be better. So I have a few standards that I extend to friends. But again, it's not like, well, you have to look a certain way and do a certain thing. It's like, for me and my friends, I believe we have to have shared mindsets or shared views on life to some degree. And it doesn't mean everything has to align. It just means, like, you have to be a person who wants to be better, who wants to grow, who wants to achieve and do more. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But outside of that, it's like you do whatever you want. But you just have to show me that you're somebody who's growth oriented. So I don't really look at people and think they're crazy or that they're doing anything, absurdly wrong or whatever. It really just depends how close or far away you are to me, I guess would maybe be the degree of how much does my expectation extend out.
Well, I feel terrible, so thank you for putting me into that hole, for calling you a little cuckoo there. So I appreciate that, Vin. Thank you. If you guys haven't listened to our second episode where we talk about friendships and about mindset shifts, I definitely encourage you to go back to that. I actually do the same. I set very high standards for myself, but I personally think that it's affected relationships. And, that's currently, why I've been seeing a therapist for a long time. I love my therapist, by the way. I
Mm.
love being able to vent when you are dealing with multiple businesses and investments and, you have all these things juggling on your plate. You can't really talk to anybody about it. And the last thing that I want to do is talk to I'm not saying that I'll talk to my wife. She's amazing. She's my best friend. But it's just nice to vent everything out there before I go see my 2-year-old son and my wife, where I can have now a nice, open, clear mind. But back to standards. I think having these high standards in yourself is amazing, but it needs to be in a way where it's not affecting the things around you. And I'll give you an example here. I have very high standards for myself, but I also reflect that in the businesses that I have. And so if it's not done my way, then what I used to be able to do is step aside because I'm going to get it done, which is not an effective way of running things.
Right.
So, with help and, with seeing that, acknowledging that I have very high standards, I was learned to able to essentially hone that into a more, effective and profitable way where I'm now able to train my directors efficiently from afar and giving them positive reinforcement and feedback. And I think that same thing applies with, friendships and your views on things as well. That's why I encourage you guys to watch episode 2 as well, because Vin helped me transition my mindset again about friendships and what the true friends are and kind of, seeing what value you're getting at. So I got to ask though, for traditions and wearing the same thing, what do you do in your leisure time?
Ah, yes. I think this is a great segue into the fun.
Yeah,
Everybody who's got some strict stuff should also have a way to unwind and create a little chaos, I think.
agreed.
And for me, what's funny is I actually have come to realize I enjoy a lot of things in life. And I had a conversation recently. I'm going to answer your question, but this actually just sparked a thought. I had a conversation recently where one of my clients does not want to go and do anything by themselves. And I used to be like that too until I started really finding a lot of things to enjoy in life, where now it's like I could spend every single day by myself and I would feel very fulfilled because I have grown to love the company of myself by really just learning what I love to do.
So is this
So,
more like codependency and independency, right? I can't have fun unless there's people around me, and then
mm,
I really need to be the best me, so that's how I can love myself, and then I can form this independency. So you're
oh
talking
yeah.
about,
Yeah, I mean, you gotta take yourself out on dates. You gotta do things that might feel difficult. Like I challenged that client. I said, you're gonna go out to, you know, you're gonna go out to dinner by yourself. You're gonna go to the bar by yourself. And they're like, absolutely not.
right?
I'm like, that's fine. I mean, you don't have to. Again, when I talk to my clients, I'm very straightforward. I'm like, you don't have to. It doesn't affect my life. If you don't want to do this, that's fine. I'm telling you, that's your next step, though, right? And the reason being is that if you don't spend or if you don't like spending time by yourself, it means you don't enjoy the company you're in. And think about that for a second. If you don't like spending time with yourself, you don't enjoy the company you're in. Well, whose company are you in?
Right.
Your own. And so it means that you have a significant lack of understanding, love, and connection to you, which is the most important thing. And as I always talk about and tell people, is you can't give to others what you don't already have for yourself. That's why they have that very cheesy saying out there that says if you want to love other people, you have to learn to love yourself first. It's cheesy, but it's also true, right? It's like you
Amen.
want to have fun with other people and genuinely have fun. You need to know how to have fun with yourself first. You need to know what you love. You need to be able to exude fun from the inside out. That's how people could really enjoy your company. That's how you could have a lot more fun in your life and you could really start enjoying it to another level. I have tons of fun alone because I find so much pleasure in so many different things.
Hmm.
So there's many different ways I can unwind, right? I love hiking. I have a ton of fun being out in nature. When I travel, I always look to plan some type of hike anywhere I go. I love gaming. I still do. I try to carve out maybe a half hour to an hour a day to just sit there and play a few video games because it's still really important to me. I love going to the gym. I mean, I put my phone on do not disturb. I create playlists of house music and I get into it, see bob in my head, all that good stuff. I love driving. I've always been someone who's had an affinity for cars. I used to be in some car clubs back when I had my muscle car. I used to have a Camaro SS, performance exhaust, Corvette engine. I was in some car clubs and all that great stuff. What else? I like learning. I can have fun just reading articles and finding new ways to support people and just new things I didn't know that I think is fascinating.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, and then obviously we could talk about the really obvious stuff, right? Like I like playing Play-Doh with my daughter, and I like just being able to sit and enjoy someone's company, even if we're not doing anything. So there's a lot of different ways to have fun, and maybe my stuff's a little bit general. Like you guys will see, Shane has some really interesting ways he likes to have fun, but that's kind of my stuff.
I think the biggest thing here, and you know what, I just first wanted to say, it all makes sense on, why my calls don't go through is from that do not disturb, because you definitely don't reject my calls, and I understand now.
This man has never called me ever.
I think the biggest thing that really stands out because all of those are fantastic and being outdoors and self-help, which includes going to the gym and learning and knowledge and being family oriented. I think that really all encompasses you. But I think the big one that stands out, especially being a successful entrepreneur, is literally carving out that hour of time a day to play games, and it's important to you. And I think it's a misconception that people, and video games, like they have like a bad rap with each other. So, first, like, what's your mindset going into the bit into the in playing games, and still being a very booked, successful entrepreneur, and why do you do it?
Funny enough, Henry Cavill is one of my idols in that regard. Like I don't idolize people, and I don't really idolize him, but I love that, and a lot of people may or may not know this about him. He's a huge nerd. Like if I ever got into acting, I imagine I would be a lot like him. He plays all of the roles in all the cool things. Like he's the Witcher. He's
Right.
Superman. He's about to star in a Warhammer 40K series on Amazon. I mean, this guy is living out every nerd's fantasy. And funny enough, he got the role for Superman and he missed the phone call because he was too busy playing World of Warcraft. And to me, that's the greatest thing ever. Part of it is I also like a challenge. And it's also a part, I'm a very creative person. I used to draw. When I was younger, I always thought I would actually be a game designer. That was like one of my big dreams that I was going to go. I picked out, it was this college in Florida called Full Sail. I was going to go there to learn how to create my own MMO. And ever since fifth grade, I would create drawings. I was like creating characters and landscapes and stats and terrains and armor and all these things that would be in my future video game. So I've been like drawing a video game for years upon years upon years. Conversely, when I was going through all my mental health stuff, gaming was the only thing that really kind of helped me because it allowed me to escape from my real life and all the problems I had in it. It allowed me to make friends all over the world when I had none. It gave me a sense of achievement and accomplishment because I didn't have any in my personal life. So there were so many things. And this is a big one, and it's something I'm writing about in my book, and it's also something I've started transitioning my keynote speeches into, is that gaming taught me a lot about life. It taught me a lot about how, for instance, I used this analogy the other day with a client. They've never created a boss or a situation in a video game that you cannot beat. That's very similar for life. If there's something that you haven't been able to succeed in or beat yet, it just means you don't have the gear you need or the armor, right? It means you haven't figured out the skill set, you haven't leveled up enough, you don't have the right tools, you're not in the proper zone. So there's always a way to win. It's just you have to get creative and figure it out, and you have to try and maybe backtrack sometimes, or you have to go back and reread what the quest is or whatever. And so I really wound up learning a lot about life just through gaming. And more so, I enjoy being competitive. I could be competitive in business and life and things like that, but realistically, I think funny enough, I just look at competing me versus me. So I'm not comparing my coaching business to other coaches. I don't care what other coaches are even doing. I don't even consume their content. It doesn't matter to me. I don't know my competitors. I mean, I know some because they're super big, but even that, they're not competitors because it's me and then it's them, and there's 8 billion people, and somebody's going to want to work with me. Somebody won't care about them, vice versa. And so I guess in my life, I don't really have much competition because I don't look at it that way. I go to the gym. I don't even look at people. I have my head down. You couldn't get my attention unless you tap me on the shoulder. Otherwise, I don't care about what you're doing, how much you're lifting, who you are. I'm there to work out and compete myself every day. When a game, there's other people, there's stats, there's different armor sets, there's different progression levels, there's different things you could do, and people could essentially see that, right? And so you are to some degree competing because I also do what's called PvP or player versus player. So I will go and fight in battlegrounds and fight other people, and we'll see who's better and things like that. So it's a lot of fun. It also, this is the last piece, I think. It also really sparks my creativity. I've always been extremely obsessed and enamored with medieval history. I actually wound up getting a minor in history by accident because I took so many history courses in college. And then they were like, hey, you have a minor in history. I was like, really? They're like, yeah, you took over 40 credits. I was like, oh, okay. Because I just love history. So when I go and play these video games now, I'm immersed in this world that's completely fantasy based in like medieval era where everybody's wearing armor and shooting fireballs and all this really cool stuff. And I get to traverse these lands that you would never otherwise get to see in life. So it really just does something amazing for me. It gives me, and I'm not looking for an escape from life. I want to make that clear. At one point in my life I was. And I had that transition out where it's like I'm not looking for an escape now. It's like I'm looking for things that make me just feel something. Like I feel really intrigued when I'm in these different worlds and I'm exploring and I'm fighting these crazy monsters or doing whatever I'm doing, and it's exciting. So it's another way of bringing joy and excitement to my life.
Well, yeah, and I think for what you're saying, you feel a sense of accomplishment for prepping for these bosses that that you once get to accomplish once you get to a certain level and you figure it out. So it's that sense of entitlement, and I think the big thing there is the journey. I
Mm,
think these games, especially how you described it, is a lot like life. You work your way up, you level up, and then you finally overcome something.
yeah,
So I think that's amazing. I think the competitiveness, it just kind of keeps you on top of your game as well. That's the PvP aspect and exploring these new worlds. I also see that as part of life as well. So I think that's great. And I think
yeah,
that's a great way of looking at video games, and I think it's essential. And
oh yeah.
for you personally.
Right. Everybody's got their own thing, and
Right.
also I just added a whole new level. I was telling you before, actually, because we were discussing a little bit of what I'm up to, and I was telling him that I started playing hardcore mode. And so if my character dies, that's it. I lose my character, I lose my level, I lose all my progression, I lose everything I've worked for however many hours I put in. And some people are like, that's crazy. I'm never going to play that. Some people they die at max level with some of the best armor in the game, and then they have to start over.
Mm.
And then they come back from nothing. And that's another level of excitement, honestly. Like now it adds almost a thrill. Like you'll be playing, you get an adrenaline rush because your health drops so low, and you're like, oh my God, am I gonna make it? It's like so it could be really freaking exciting. And I think maybe that's a piece too, is like I want excitement in all aspects of my life. I want
Right.
excitement with my kid. I want excitement with myself. I want excitement with my business. And I'm seeking that. And so gaming brings another level of that, especially with these added elements of, yeah, you could potentially die and lose everything you've ever worked for, which to be fair is a lot like business, right? I think most entrepreneurs feel like at any given time, they can lose everything they've worked for, no matter how long and how successfully they've been doing it. There's always that tinge and knowing in the back of your mind, like at any moment I could lose it all. And that's kind of why we become entrepreneurs, because it's exciting and we'd rather do that than have safety. So to
That's
some
the
degree,
one
I'm doing
percent.
it.
That's that
That's the
1%
1%.
mentality. It's the fact that we're taking the risk,
Oh yeah.
right? And when you talk to most people, especially dreamers, because you talk to a lot of dreamers, like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Hey, my business idea is I'm thinking about doing this. Great. Do you have any advice? Plan it out, visualize it, write it out, do it.
Do it.
Nike said it best, right? No trademark stealing here. Just freaking do it.
Hmm.
We've talked multiple times about that as well.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I love that. I love that mindset, and I think it makes sense. I think it correlates with your life in general. I used video games as well as an escape because I didn't have a lot going on, and I had friends. As this was back in the Halo days, where you would play 4 or 5 hours at a time.
Yeah.
But I was working that corporate job, and then after the corporate job, I didn't have money to go out, and I didn't want to go and get wasted and throw all my money away. It was going and working my day-to-day job, then coming back home and playing video games with some friends and letting loose and escaping, that reality. And, a lot of people are still doing that, but they have that mindset. And I don't necessarily think, it's a healthy or unhealthy mindset, because people are different and people have different, goals and expectations. And, we kind of talked about the differences between the 1%er and the 9 to 5er. And I honestly think the 9 to 5 lifestyle is essential, and it's easy. It's not a lot of stress, which I think that's what I appreciated the most. And, when you guys get to this far in this podcast here, and hopefully you've seen all of our episodes, the 9 to 5, if you're currently working a 9 to 5, that's it. You put your hours in, you go home, and you can do whatever you want. Play video games, hang out with your significant others, hang out with your friends. That's it. That's your life. When you're a business owner, I know this may sound all fine and dandy, it's 24/7. Like when you're in the, what it's becoming in the corner, as Vin's saying, hopefully you're not losing it all. But when there's tough times that you have to figure out, you hunker down and you figure it out. But sometimes you lose sleep. Sometimes you work 14, 16-hour days. So, anyways, I'm going off on a little tangent here, but I think as long as you're happy, and I think as long as, you have reasons that make you happy, I think that's really all that matters.
I agree. And to your point, though, you're not wrong. I want to just affirm, like, 9 to 5, it's a different kind of stress, right? Like, as an entrepreneur, you're stressed just because of you have to build things, you have to create things, you have to figure everything out. As a 9 to 5er, you're going to have a different kind of stress where it's like maybe your boss sucks. Maybe the job isn't that fulfilling. You're only getting a certain amount of income. You have to be really, really budget friendly because you're not getting more. We have, as entrepreneurs, we have the opportunity to hopefully make more, right? But we'll see ups and downs in our income. You might not. We could take a day off. We're probably not going to get paid. We could get sick. We're not getting paid. You have that certainty in there, but there's all these different levels of stress for different types of things. So finding ways that you could definitely deal with your stress, cope with your stress is super important, whether you're an entrepreneur, 9 to 5er. But even to Shane's point, right? I used to do the same. When I had my 9 to 5 job, I would come home and like, screw it. I made money. I worked a full day. I'm going to play some video games until 12, 1 in the morning, be a little tired, but I'll go to work, get it again, do the same thing over, play with my friends.
Yep.
And part of that is your circle, right? I have my friends encourage, yo, get on, come on, come play Call of Duty, come play Halo, come on, let's go do that. Let's get on World of Warcraft, let's do this. And you want to, because that's what you know. But then there's a certain time where maybe that's not enough for you anymore. And it definitely wasn't for me. And that's when on my days off, instead of when I was a firefighter, instead of sleeping half the day, like a lot of firefighters might do, right? Because they work a 24-hour shift or more and they're exhausted. I would drink an energy drink and then I'd work on my business for my day off. I would stay awake sometimes over 36 hours just because that's what I had, right? I wasn't going to sleep the entire day away, wake up late at night, stay up until 3 in the morning, then go on tour again the day after. So I would stay up, work, then sleep at a relatively normal time, then get up and then go back to the firehouse and do another tour. And that's just how it was. And you have to make that determination of when you want to do what you're going to do and how you want to live your life. And that's really ultimately important. But let's transition, because I know we're probably curious. I mean, if you guys see this on video, if you don't, I will describe it. Shane has a melody of crap behind him. If you do see it on video, you know what I'm talking about. So why don't we see what Shane likes to do for fun? I have a few guesses, just by observation, but let's see what he says.
Well, let's hear the guesses first. I mean, you see all of this stuff that's going on, and I wanted to increase it for this podcast because I know what we were going to be talking about.
True. That stuff wasn't there the other day. It was there when we figured out, maybe we should talk about fun on the next podcast. And now all of a sudden Shane's background is just like a kid's room exploded. So we got in the background, for those of you that are on audio, we have, I'm not going to bother Shane by pronouncing things wrong because I did that beforehand, but I'll pronounce it all right. We have Pokemon cards. We have what appears to be I think that's a Blue Eyes White Dragon. It's a Yu-Gi-Oh card, I think. We have a football and a football helmet, all signed. Then there's a box that says football on it, which I think is probably football cards. There's something black with a plaque. I'm not sure what that is. Can't see it from here. And then he's got a card game, Interstellar, which is also his T-shirt. You'll see what that is in about a minute. I don't know what the heck those other cards are, but there's a thing of it. It looks like he pulled out a binder, but just a binder sheet of cards and stuck it there without the binder for whatever purpose that is. But that is essentially. Oh, and then he's got something graded. I can see like there's a grading on it. It's in that sealed hard case that like you can't get unless it's graded from probably some mystical wizards or something. And yeah, that essentially is his background. So I'll just kind of let him describe it more.
Well, yeah. I mean, what more is there to say? Vin already had it perfect. I'm just kidding. So, as a kid, like, most of us that are in the same general age range, from 30 to 40 years old, you were around, or at least about Pokemon, which is a trading card game and a TV show that came out in '96. It actually first came out in Japan. And then US does what US does is we like, ooh, we want that. So we came and we did that, and we essentially, made it better, in my opinion. So I was hooked when Pokemon came out as the first of its kind. For those of you guys that this wasn't the first trading card game. Actually, Magic the Gathering was the most popular trading card game that first came out. I wasn't into it at the time. It was very difficult. I think Magic came out in the early '90s, and at that time I was 6 and 7. So the TV show came out. I related with that. I played with it. And then Yu-Gi-Oh came out. Yu-Gi-Oh was the first trading card game that I actually played, did tournaments and things like that when I was younger. This is actually signed by the creator of the cards itself. And yeah, I completely forgot about it. Just like probably most of you who actually collected or played cards, my mom threw away everything when I moved out, and which I immediately regretted because when COVID happened, these things boomed as far as the collectible pieces. You'll hear Gary Vaynerchuk and Logan Paul talk about these trading cards and how they're investment pieces and things like that. And I actually got on, luckily enough, about 6 months before they were talking about it. So I just was like, you know what? I'm going to check this out. I'm going to get back into it just for the collecting standpoint, not for the playing. And I was hooked. And that was about, 5 years ago. And yeah, it just grew from there. Like if you saw my office now, you'd be like, holy crap, this guy is insane. I treat it as an investment piece. There's a lot of things that I, buy and then I'll flip for money. And then I have my PC, my personal collection, things that I'll never sell, things that remind me of my childhood that I, like putting up, which is essentially my Yu-Gi-Oh collection. I have the entire 11 sets completed, which is 44 boxes. It took me a long time to complete this entire set.
Wow.
Konami is the actual creator of that. They don't make these anymore. They just do like celebration sets, reprints and stuff like that every 5, 10 years. Um, so yeah, I would say it's a big passion project. Obviously, football is very big into my life. I'm a diehard Colts fan as well as my whole entire family. So the two that I have behind me is actually a game used ball from the Super Bowl in 2007 with Peyton Manning. So it's signed and autographed and authenticated by Peyton Manning. And then over here to my right is the helmet. These are actually, it's not a game worn helmet, but it's live signatures. So it's authenticated. It's the entire team that won the Super Bowl that year that actually wore those helmets. So it was a team signed helmet. Unfortunately, we haven't won a Super Bowl since 2007. But you know what? Cross your fingers, hope and a prayer. So I'm a diehard Colts fan. This is what's called the slab. So these magical wizards that Vin likes to say is
Yeah.
known as PSA. There's a couple other grading companies like Beckett and CGC. This was it's a 1976 wax pack. This is where they actually incorporated a piece of bubble gum in there back in the day.
I remember
So
that.
yeah, so just a really cool. The year doesn't really have any sort of significance to me. It was really cool. It was the oldest wax packs that I personally got my hands on. I graded it myself. I don't think I'll sell that. It's just something personal to me. That brings me to, since you guys now heard that I'm a big nerd and I love collecting cards and flipping cards and, pretty much all encompassing trading cards for the last 5 years. I actually co-created a trading card game called Interstellar. It's a space themed trading card game. And then what you see here is a couple of our booster boxes. This is actually signed by our head artist. This is one of our big hits. It's called the Space Cowboy. It's a full art card, so it's pretty cool. And then that sheet that Vin was pointing out is an uncut sheet. So essentially, our manufacturers, they provide them in these big sheets, a lot bigger than that. And then they'll cut them in sections. So I actually have a couple that are signed by my entire team hanging up on my wall. And this is just an extra one that I did have. But this is how all cards look like. They come out in very big sheets. They cut them in sections. And then they cut them to actually look like those cards. So, yeah, I've been into cards. Cards consume pretty much my hobby life. I don't stream or anything like that. I don't have time for that. But it's nice. My son and I will open up some packs together. And he likes looking at the hollows, the nice shiny ones. And he's only 2 right now, but I'm really much looking forward to getting him involved into my passion project and hobbies, and hopefully he shares the same, passion as I do for them. And yeah, that's what I like to do. I like to, I don't necessarily play them as much, but I like to collect and I like to resell, and that's pretty much what I do on my leisure time, besides hanging out with my family and golfing and friends, and consumes at least a couple hours of my day every day.
How do you actually have fun with these things, though? Like, what do you do? Do you go to conventions? Do you go to those? So back when I used to play tabletop games, I used to go to these little places like the Hobby Lobbies and stuff, and everybody in there would smell of body odor, and so for some reason they'd always be eating fast food. So it just smelled of body odor, fast food, and some sweat. And I used to go there and play these tabletops. Do you go to things like that? Like, how do you actually have fun with the cards, though?
So we Interstellar, we go to cons. We last year or this year we've been to 4 cons already, and I actually leave for one in 2 weeks to go to another convention. It's called Collecticon. There's other cons like Comic Con and things like that. It's probably more popular. Collecticon is primarily for collectibles, trading cards, Funko Pops, comics, things like that. So we go to cons and we'll set up a couple of tables and we'll do just live gameplay. We'll let people know what Interstellar is for they who haven't seen it. We have our artists there for people who bring their cards and they want things signed. It's really fun. It's just a different demographic. For people that are into cards, when you're into cards, you're into cards. And it's essentially like a Disneyland. Which is pretty crazy because you have your chance to, attain something that you can only get at a Collecticon. If you're, a diehard collectible, you have all types of people. You have your resellers, you have your collectors, you have your players. So, yes, we go to cons. I personally walk around and see if there's anything that need to fit into my personal collection. At this time, that's what I do. I don't look for anything to flip or spend time doing that because I have enough stuff that I need to put on for sale. My wife actually says, she's like, "You're not a flipper. You're not a reseller." I was like, "That's exactly what I am." She's like, "No, because you don't spend the time putting it online and trying to sell it." She's like, "You're not a reseller yet." I'm like,
You're a hoarder.
"Touche." And then, yeah, exactly right. So I have 300 of these, slabs that I need to essentially put up and get ready for sale, but it's taking the time to do it. But yes, the cons are amazing. The smell is exactly what Vin said it was. But to be honest, when you're into that realm, like I imagine World of Warcraft, going to Comic-Con and dressing up, it's just fun. It's a nice little escape. It's, it's cool to see. It's got a great energy.
Yeah, I always enjoy going to the cons. I typically go to Comic Con every year, and I like to go have a little fun, check out what's going on. I've always wanted to go to BlizzCon, but I never went. That's all the way in Cali. I'm not going out there for that. But I do know that they can be a lot of fun. You meet a lot of interesting people, and some people, the really serious cosplayers, have some of the coolest outfits you will ever see, and they're fascinating. I mean,
Right.
I've watched videos on how a lot of these cosplayers make their armor and their gear, and it truly is magnificent. I mean, these people, ridiculously talented. They are leather workers. They know how to mold foam. Some of them know how to weld. Some of them know how to cut sheet metal. Some of them know how to stitch. It's fascinating because some of them know electric. Like they will create light within their armor or their weapons. These people are massively skilled in multiple different trades, and it's probably just discounted because you look at them and it's like, oh, look, they're wearing armor. It's like, yeah, but some of them spend hundreds of hours creating this armor by learning skills like art, molding, woodwork, leatherworking, tailoring, electrical, ironwork, metalwork. Like, it's sick. And they do it for just a costume. Like, fascinating stuff. I have such a deep appreciation for those people.
Yeah, you see those all over the cons too. One stands out as the stormtrooper outfits. I mean, I feel like it's a pretty classic staple, these stormtrooper outfits, but they don't base it off of these new stormtroopers, which don't even get me started. Like, I'm a old school Star Wars guy. Trust me, I love the CGI and the new technology, but nothing beats the old school Star Wars, at least because that's how I grew up. I grew up
Yeah.
watching them. But that's the old school stormtrooper outfits, and it looks just identical. And I actually haven't talked to them and see how they made it or if they bought it, but it's phenomenal how great they look. It's like, did you buy that for $20,000 or however much a regular stormtrooper outfit costs? Which I probably imagine is a lot more than that. But it's just unbelievable the man hours that they spent on this. Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree with you.
it's great. Well, I think if there's anything that the listeners can probably take from this episode is one, that we are ginormous nerds who have somehow made it, and two, that it's not just about all work and hustle. And I think that that's one of the biggest lies, and that's actually something that keeps people stuck, I believe. You have to learn how to have fun. You have to learn how to transition your mindset. You have to be in a space where you could be okay with stillness and creating that for yourself by having some fun. Maybe it's playing cards, maybe it's gaming, maybe it's a hike. It doesn't really matter what it is. The point being that if you're just working yourself to the bone and you're just hustling and you're just constantly grinding and you're somewhat miserable, I can't imagine you're happy like that. You're not going to get to a space of success. Your business, you're probably going to burn out before you could fully get it to a place where it's actually generating good income. I can't imagine you're sustaining relationships successfully. I can't imagine you even give yourself proper time to do anything to enjoy life. And if you're living that way, my message to you is stop. Stop doing it. You're ruining your life. Learn to analyze what brings you some fun. Learn to embrace what brings you fun and create a space where it's okay to do that. I carve out an hour or so in a day because I'm up at 5 a.m. And by the time 9 a.m. rolls around, I've done more work than most people would do in their day. I work from 5 to 7:30, sometimes 8. I do 3 hours of work to start my day. Then I go to the gym for an hour and 15 minutes. Then by the time I get home, I'm having breakfast, spending time with my daughter, and then I'll get to actual work like meetings, calls, clients. So if I want to take an hour in my day, I've already earned that crap. And so if you're feeling like you haven't earned it, do something that supports that. If you feel like you're not giving yourself the proper time or whatever the case is, make the time. There's so many ways that you can get to the space where you don't have to feel guilty about taking a break or having a little bit of fun. And I think that that's a mindset that keeps people really down. Because if you know anything about psychology, one of the biggest things is that the human brain is always looking for ways to avoid pain and seek pleasure, right? And so if you continue to make it that your business and your life is just unpleasurable and it's really painful, you're actually creating an aversion to success because your brain and your subconscious is going to start thinking, I don't even know why I'm working this hard. I'm not enjoying any of it. So if you actually build joy into the process of growth, you're going to have fun growing, you'll want to keep growing. You'll want to keep seeing your success go higher because that in turn also continues to enhance your happiness. So there's also a psychological meaning as to why you shouldn't just hustle and make your life miserable, but there is a positive reason to actually create and have fun in your life. So I definitely encourage it. I know Shane encourages it. Shane, do you have any closing thoughts about why people should have more fun, how they could have more fun? Anything you want to leave the audience before we wrap up today?
I personally think you hit the nail on the head here, but I wanted to point out that, Finn's not literally a crazy guy for wearing the same outfit. So if you wanted to wear the same thing and having routine, I think routines are very important, especially if you are becoming an entrepreneur, or you are an entrepreneur and you're trying to shift things. Having routine and stability is totally fine. I'll do my best in trying to get him to wear at least one red shirt, guys. I'll see what I can do. But I just wanted to say I really had fun on this episode. It's nice that I get to share some of my things, and Vin's got to share some of his things. It's definitely what keeps you, sane. You have to have something that makes you happy, and everybody is completely different. I can't imagine any of you guys thinking that Vin plays World of Warcraft and Shane collects Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So embrace it. Embrace who you are. Embrace yourself. Have fun. But carve out that time, as Vin was saying, and, make your life your priority and your fun the second priority.
I love it, man. Very well said. Definitely a good piece of advice for people to wrap up with today. So everybody who listened, thanks for tuning in. Episode 6, fun with Vin and Shane. That's it. It's fun with Vin and Shane and dress code. So we appreciate you guys listening. Again, feel free if you have any ideas or you want to contact us or leave any messages, you can shoot me an email, vincent@vincentинfante.life. You can hit Shane at the VA group. Check out my social, vin.infante. That's on Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever. You can probably find Shane on LinkedIn too. And lastly, if you're hearing this podcast and you actually made it all the way to the end, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, help us boost this podcast up, help us spread a good message of helping people basically figure out what are some of the things they could do to enhance their lives and step into the 1%. That's what we want. We want everybody to find what their 1% is for them. Again, as I said probably in the first episode, doesn't mean you have to have a multi-million-dollar house, $1 billion car. None of that stuff really matters. 1% is just a way of life. It means that you're living fulfilled, you're living happy, and you're finding the best way to live for you in whatever that means. So thanks for joining us. Stay